Don't argue. Don't curse. Don't get angry. Just do this. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes for 2 seconds. And repeat internally a phrase that Marcus Aurelius said to himself every single time someone tried to steal his peace. You'll learn that phrase before this video ends. And when you do, when you truly understand what it means and why it works, you will never be the same person in a conflict again. But before we get there, I need to talk to you about something that probably happened to you this week. Someone said something that irritated you. Maybe it was a word. Maybe it was a tone. Maybe it was that one person who always manages to push exactly the right button at exactly the wrong time, and you felt it rising. That heat in your chest. That urge to respond, to defend yourself, to show that you won't just take it. And you responded, or you spent hours afterward replaying the situation in your head, thinking about what you should have said. And at the end of the day, exhausted from carrying that anger, you realized something that nobody likes to admit. The person who suffered most from your irritation was you, not them. You. They moved on with their life, and you kept carrying the weight of them inside you as if it were yours to carry. That has a name in Stoic philosophy, and it has a solution, one that is not about swallowing your feelings, not about being passive, not about letting people walk all over you. It's about something far more powerful than any angry response you've ever given. It's about becoming unshakable. And the Stoics developed a method, tested by emperors, by slaves, by generals and philosophers across 2,000 years, that will show you how to never again let anyone steal what is most precious to you. Your peace. Stay until the end. Because the phrase Marcus Aurelius used, the phrase I'll reveal in the final minutes of this video, is almost too simple to seem powerful, but that's exactly why it works. And subscribe to the channel and hit the bell right now. Every subscription helps us keep bringing this wisdom to more people who need it. Thank you. Now let's go. Let's start with the truth that no one tells you about anger. Anger feels like power. In the moment it rises, when your chest tightens and your words sharpen and your eyes narrow, it feels like you are finally taking control. Like you are refusing to be disrespected. Like you are standing up for yourself. But it's a lie. One of the most sophisticated lies your own mind tells you. Because while anger feels like power, it is actually the complete surrender of power. It is the moment you hand control of your emotional state to another person. It is the moment you say, and without words but clearly, you decide how I feel right now. You are in charge of my inner world. Marcus Aurelius understood this at the deepest level. He was the most powerful man in the known world. Emperor of Rome, commander of legions, ruler of millions. And yet he wrote in his private journal, in words never meant to be published, that the greatest battle he fought every single day was not on any battlefield. It was inside himself. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Not power over other people. Not power over what they say or do or think. Power over your own mind. Over your own response. Over the only territory that was ever truly yours to govern." And that single shift, from trying to control what happens outside to mastering what happens inside, is the entire foundation of Stoic emotional intelligence. Let me tell you about the neuroscience of what happens when someone triggers your anger, because understanding the mechanism is the first step to breaking free from it. When someone says or does something that your brain interprets as a threat, a disrespect, an injustice, an attack on your identity or values, your amygdala fires. The amygdala is the brain's alarm system, its most primitive and ancient part, and it does not think. It reacts. In a fraction of a second, literally before your conscious mind has processed what happened, your body is flooded with cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate accelerates, your muscles tense, your thinking narrows. You are in fight or flight. This response was designed for physical survival. It worked perfectly when the threat was a predator. When surviving meant running or fighting in the next 3 seconds. But the threat is not a predator. The threat is a colleague who spoke to you dismissively in a meeting, a family member who said something thoughtless at dinner, a stranger who cut you off in traffic. And your body is responding as if your life depends on the next 3 seconds. The Stoics called this the first movement, the automatic, involuntary physical response that happens before choice, and they were remarkably precise about something that neuroscience only confirmed recently. You cannot control the first movement. It happens whether you want it to or not. What you can control is what comes next. Epictetus, the man who was born into slavery and became one of the greatest philosophers in history, taught that between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space lies your freedom, your power, your entire capacity to be the person you have decided to be. The angry person collapses that space to zero. They let the stimulus become the response with nothing in between. The Stoic expands that space deliberately, creates distance between what happened and what they do about it, and in that distance, chooses. Now I need to tell you something about the people who trigger you, something that will fundamentally change how you see them. They are not doing it on purpose, I know. Some of them seem like they are. Some of them seem to take specific and personal pleasure in finding your buttons and pressing them. Some of them have been irritating you for so long and so consistently that it is almost impossible to believe there is no intention behind it. But Marcus Aurelius saw it differently, and his perspective is worth considering because he dealt with more difficult people, more powerful, more dangerous, more deliberately antagonistic people than most of us will ever encounter. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, 'Today I will meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and antisocial. They are this way because they don't know what is truly good and what is truly bad.'" Read that again slowly. They don't know what is truly good and what is truly bad. Marcus Aurelius was not making excuses for bad behavior. He was offering something far more useful: understanding. The person who is rude to you is not rude because they have carefully assessed you and decided you deserve rudeness. They are rude because they are operating from their own pain, their own fear, their own unexamined patterns. The driver who cuts you off is not thinking about you at all. The coworker who dismisses your ideas is protecting their own insecurity. The family member who criticizes you is operating from wounds that have nothing to do with you. This is not about letting people treat you poorly. You can and should establish boundaries with clarity and firmness when necessary. This is about not taking personally what was never actually personal. Because the moment you stop taking it personally, the moment you see the behavior as information about them rather than a verdict about you, the trigger loses most of its power. You can respond thoughtfully instead of reacting emotionally. You can address the situation from a place of clarity instead of from a place of wounded ego, and that changes everything. Let's talk about the people we find hardest to stay calm around, because it's not strangers who trigger us most deeply. It's the people closest to us. The colleague who takes credit for your work, the partner who says the one thing they know will cut deepest, the parent whose single sentence can undo years of emotional work in an instant, the friend who has a talent for making you feel smaller than when you arrived. These people have access to us in a way strangers never do. They know the history, they know the wounds, they know the insecurities, and whether they use that knowledge deliberately or unconsciously, the effect is the same. We feel seen in the worst way, exposed, vulnerable, and the anger that rises is proportional not just to what was said today, but to everything that was said before. Seneca wrote about this with a precision that feels almost clinical. He said, "The primary sign of a well-ordered mind is a man's ability to remain in one place and linger in his own company." What he meant was this: the reason other people can destabilize us so completely is that we are not stable within ourselves. The trigger outside finds a wound inside, and the bigger the reaction, the deeper the wound. This is not an accusation, it is a map. Because if you want to understand why certain people make you angrier than others, why some words from some people cut deeper than the same words would from a stranger, the answer is never entirely about them. Part of the answer is always about what they activated in you that was already there. And the Stoic work, the real, deep, transformative work, is to go inside and address those places, not to eliminate the capacity to be hurt, but to build something underneath the hurt that cannot be shaken. Here are the 5 Stoic practices that will change your relationship with anger and irritation starting today. Not theory, practice, things you can actually do. The first practice is the pause before the response. When you feel the anger rising, when the heat comes into your chest and the words start forming, you do one thing before anything else. You pause. Not for an hour, not for a dramatic silence that communicates your displeasure. Literally 3 to 5 seconds of deliberate, conscious pause before you respond. In those seconds, you are doing something specific. You are asking the question that Epictetus considered the most important question a human being could ask in any situation. Is this within my control or outside my control? What the other person said, outside your control. How you respond, completely within your control. That question, asked genuinely in those 3 seconds, interrupts the automatic pathway from trigger to reaction. It forces the prefrontal cortex, the rational, deliberate part of your brain, to come online before the amygdala has already decided your response. 3 seconds. That is all that stands between reaction and choice. Between your worst self and your best self. Between giving your power away and keeping it. The second practice is what Marcus Aurelius called the view from above. When you are in the middle of a situation that is triggering anger, zoom out mentally. See yourself from above, as if you are watching a movie of the scene. See the other person, see the room. See how small this moment is in the context of your entire life. This is not minimizing what you feel. It is giving it accurate proportion. Most things that trigger rage, most things that send our cortisol through the roof, will be completely forgotten in 6 months. Many will be forgotten in 6 days. The view from above gives you access to that truth in real time, before you do or say something that the smaller, triggered version of you will regret. The third practice is assuming the most charitable interpretation. Before you decide that what someone said was an attack, a disrespect, or a deliberate provocation, consider the possibility that it wasn't. Consider that they were tired, stressed, distracted, operating from their own pain in a way that had nothing to do with you. This is not naive. The Stoics were not naive people. Seneca navigated Roman imperial politics, one of the most dangerous environments in human history. Marcus Aurelius dealt with actual traitors and conspirators. They knew that bad people exist and that bad intentions exist. But they also knew that assuming bad intention when the situation is ambiguous costs you peace you cannot afford to lose, and that treating people as if their behavior is understandable, even when it is frustrating, creates interactions that resolve more often than they escalate. Give people the benefit of the doubt, not because they always deserve it, because your peace is worth more than being right about their intentions. The fourth practice is what Epictetus called returning to your own lane. One of the primary sources of chronic irritation, not the acute anger of a single event but the constant low-level irritation that drains energy all day, is spending mental energy on things that are not your business. How someone else does their job, what someone else thinks of you, whether someone else is making good decisions, whether someone else is living correctly according to your values. None of that is your lane. Your lane is your thoughts, your actions, your choices, your character, your response to what happens to you. Every time you drift out of your lane, every time you spend energy judging, monitoring, worrying about, or resenting what other people are doing, you drain the resource you need for what is actually within your control. Returning to your lane is not indifference to the world. It is strategic focus on the only territory where your effort actually produces results. The fifth practice is the evening review. Every night before you sleep, spend 5 minutes reviewing the moments of irritation from your day, not to replay them with renewed anger, to understand them. Where did I lose my peace today? What was the trigger? What was the wound it touched? What would the Stoic version of me have done differently? This review does something that in-the-moment practice alone cannot do. It builds self-knowledge over time. You start to see your patterns, The specific triggers, the specific people, the specific situations that most reliably pull you out of equanimity. And when you know your patterns, you can prepare for them. You can see the trigger coming before it arrives, and choose your response before the moment demands it. Now I want to tell you about the difference between stoic calm and the kind of passivity that people sometimes confuse with it. Because this is important and it is frequently misunderstood. Stoic calm is not silence in the face of injustice. It is not accepting poor treatment because you have decided to be philosophical about it. It is not allowing people to mistreat you while you smile serenely and quote Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius fought wars. He confronted traitors. He made hard decisions that affected millions of lives. He was not a passive man. He was one of the most actively engaged leaders in history. The difference between stoic action and reactive anger is not the presence or absence of action. It is the state from which the action comes. Reactive anger acts from wound. It acts to defend the ego, to punish the offender, to release the internal pressure of the emotion. It is action in service of the feeling. Stoic action acts from values. It acts because the situation requires a response, because justice demands it, because the right thing needs to be done. It is action in service of what is actually right. You can speak firmly. You can set clear boundaries. You can address disrespect directly and without apology. You can refuse to accept poor treatment. All of that is available to you without anger, without losing your peace, without handing your emotional state to the other person. In fact, all of that is more effective without anger, because anger makes you predictable. It tells the other person exactly which buttons to press to control you. Calm makes you unpredictable. It communicates something that irritation never can, that you are not available to be destabilized. And there is nothing more disarming to someone who wants to provoke you than a response that is clear, firm, and completely free of the emotion they were trying to produce. Let me tell you a story about Epictetus that will stay with you. Epictetus was a slave. His owner, a man named Epaphroditus, once decided to demonstrate his power over Epictetus by twisting his leg. According to historical accounts, Epictetus simply looked at him and said calmly, "You are going to break it." Epaphroditus kept twisting. Epictetus, with the same calm, said, "I told you so." The leg broke. Epictetus showed no distress. I am not telling you this story to suggest that physical pain is irrelevant or that you should have no reaction to suffering. I am telling you this story because of what it reveals about where Epictetus had built his foundation. His peace was not located in his body. It was not located in his circumstances. It was not located in what other people did or did not do to him. It was located somewhere that no one could reach. And that is the practice, not the suppression of feeling. Epictetus felt pain, but the location of peace. Building your fundamental sense of okayness somewhere that circumstances cannot touch, somewhere that other people's behavior cannot reach. This is not built in a day. It is built in the 5 seconds of pause practiced 100 times. In the evening, review practiced every night. In the gradual, patient, consistent work of reclaiming sovereignty over your own inner world. But every single time you choose the pause over the reaction, every single time you expand that space between stimulus and response, you are laying one more brick in the foundation. Until one day you realize that the things that used to consume you for hours now pass through you in minutes. And the things that used to pull you into arguments now barely register as interesting. Not because you became cold, but because you became solid. And now, the phrase that Marcus Aurelius repeated to himself when difficult people appeared, when situations threatened his peace, when the world gave him reasons to react, it is this. This is not a catastrophe. This is an opportunity to practice. Read that again. This is not a catastrophe. This is an opportunity to practice. The difficult colleague is not a catastrophe. They are an opportunity to practice patience. The thoughtless comment from someone you love is not a catastrophe. It is an opportunity to practice compassion. The driver, the long line, the canceled plan, the dismissive response, none of it is a catastrophe. All of it is an opportunity to practice being the person you have decided to be. Marcus Aurelius did not see obstacles as interruptions to his practice. He saw them as the practice itself. Every irritating person was a teacher. Every frustrating situation was a training ground. Every moment of provocation was a chance to prove, not to anyone else but to himself, that his peace was real, that it was not conditional on things going well. This reframe is one of the most powerful things you can do with your mind, because it transforms your entire relationship with difficulty. Difficulty stops being the enemy of your peace and starts being the raw material from which your peace is built. And the people who irritate you most, the ones you would most like to avoid, the ones you have spent the most energy resenting, become in this framework your most valuable teachers. Not because what they do is acceptable, but because what they reveal about your own capacity to remain grounded is priceless. Before we close, I want to give you something concrete to take into tomorrow. Tomorrow something will irritate you. I say this not as pessimism, but as certainty, because life includes friction. People include friction, and the goal is not a life without friction. That life does not exist. The goal is a you that friction cannot break. So tomorrow, when the moment comes, when you feel that heat rising, when the words start forming, when the familiar urge to react takes hold, try this. Pause for 3 seconds. Ask, is this within my control? Take one slow breath, and then ask, what would the strongest version of me do right now? Not the version that wins the argument. Not the version that gets the last word. Not the version that makes the other person feel what they made you feel. The strongest version, the one that stays grounded, the one that responds from values instead of wounds, the one that keeps their peace no matter what the other person does with theirs. That version is already in you. It has always been in you. The Stoics did not invent it. They just created a practice to bring it forward. And every time you choose it, even imperfectly, even partially, even just for 3 seconds longer than you would have yesterday, you strengthen it until it becomes not something you practice, but something you are. Thank you for staying until the end. If this video gave you something, a new perspective, a concrete tool, a moment of recognition that you are not alone in this struggle, share it with someone who needs it today. That person in your life who you can see carrying anger that is costing them more than they realize. That friend who replays arguments for days. That family member who has been at war with their own reactions for years. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for someone is simply share something and say, I thought of you. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. Every week we bring content like this. Content designed not to entertain but to transform. To remind you, week after week, that the wisdom that has survived 2,000 years is more relevant today than it has ever been. Take care of yourself, with discipline, with compassion, with the unshakable knowledge that your peace belongs to you, and that no person, no situation, and no moment has the power to take it unless you hand it over. You get to choose. Choose wisely. See you in the next video.